All right, so we are live, and today we're continuing. Let's make sure that we are live on every single one of our places. Okay, awesome. We're live on Facebook. We're live on YouTube as well. So we're here again for our back to school series. Apologies, we had to move this to 2:30. We were supposed to start at 2 o'clock, but we had to move it at 2:30 because we had something that came up. So we're here, and in collaboration with the Responsible Teens Academy, we are running the back to school series. And today we're going to have someone pretty interesting. But Etima is here meanwhile, and then let's even review what happened here yesterday. Welcome back here, Etima. Auntie Etima.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
All right, Auntie
It's good to
Etima.
be
So
here again.
tell us what we're doing today.
Okay, a little recap from yesterday. Yesterday we spoke to two people, two young people. One of them, my mentee, who is still in school, and she shared with us the trials and the struggles that she had, or she had, because I think she's done well in coping with those challenges that face this good girl in on campus. One striking thing she mentioned was how she handled the issue of lecturers trying to, I like to use the word bully. let me let me just use that word bully, young girls to doing what they don't want to do just for marks and just to, come out well in school. So she handled that very well. And I remember we both highlighted the fact that we need to teach our children how to stand up for themselves politely, respectfully, but firmly and surely.
Mm,
It is important that our children know, and it starts with them being able to stand up to us as parents. So
mm,
I remember the discussion that was happening at the intentional parents group, and when I put it up, someone said, "But we are also bullies as parents." So if you're a
mm,
bully parent here, this message is for you. allow, allow your allow your teenager, especially the ones going preparing for college, let them have the ability to say, "Mom, no, and this is my reason why." Because I remember her saying that she sent a message to this lecturer to say, "Sir, I don't think what you're doing is right, and this is the reason why." And that did it. The man got off her back. So we can't, because at this point we can't go to school and try to rescue them from these things. We need to allow them to be able to stand up for themselves and to do what is right. So
mm.
that was an amazing session, by the way. Thank you, Wendy, for that opportunity. And then we had the uncle session that has left all our DMs and all our groups on WhatsApp and on Facebook blazing, like
Mm,
blinking hot.
mm,
He spoke to us about his journey into cultism in school, and how that it was really tough for him because he didn't have anything to help him fight that pressure. I
mm.
remember asking him, "Were you forced to join the cult? I mean, did someone put a gun on your head and say, you join or you die?" And he said, "No. He was only lured, he was only convinced, and he had no stronger conviction to help him withstand that pressure." Of
Mm.
course, what was the reason? Trying to seek for power. And I'm wondering, what sort of power will a young man be searching for in school?
Mm.
Power to bully others. We come back to the issue of bullying again. Power to have what you want, anyhow you want, whenever you want it. And
Mm.
so he needed that circle. I remember him saying that he came from a home where he was pampered, he was it protected, as it were. And so he also needed to continue in that kind of environment. So I'm recapping these lessons because as parents, I want us to know that there are certain things that we must endure before our children go to college, or as they are going to.
Okay, so I'm saying that Auntie Etima has been booted out, but we have Tega here. And it's quite interesting. It's going to be an explosive session. Thank you, Tega, for being here. Thank you, Tega. We are so excited to have you on this platform. I've been looking for how to bring Tega here, like, oh, yeah. And I know that we need Tega
Why
to
are you
come and
making
say
it sound
something.
like I'm so busy?
Ah, oh well.
Auntie
What
Wendy,
could
why are
that
you making it sound like I'm so busy?
to get you too, but it's good. I like the fact that we're doing this during the back to school series, and a lot of the times when we say these things to parents, right? I think Tega has frozen. When we say these things to parents, oh, this thing happened.
So sorry.
Oh, is this bad? I'm sure parents don't really believe a lot of the things that we say. But I think that, bringing people to come and speak from their experiences is making it sound, a lot more,
Yeah,
it makes it sound a lot more real. Because I know that after
yeah.
yesterday, parents reached out to me to say, whoa, I didn't know that was how it looked. So we're bringing you Tega again today. Yesterday, we had the guy who shared with us his journey into cultism. Now, we all know about cultism and then we all know what happens, but he shared a lot deeper than that. I think you should catch a replay of that session. If you were at TIP conference, people likened it to Elijah's session. And Elijah's session was one of the most explosive sessions we had at TIP conference. So if that session was likened to Elijah's session, trust me, you want to catch replay of that. How a good boy turned to a bad boy on campus. He went from being a cultist to being a robber to being a charm maker to being all sorts. All just by one thing. Today, we're also going to have Tega share with us how I went from a bookworm to a junkie. It's something that I've heard Tega share a lot of the times, but I am excited that Tega is right here on TIP to share with parents so that parents will get it. Because when we say it, I don't think they get it enough. So, thank you, Tega. By the way, Tega just turned 40. She just turned
Yeah.
40.
She just got on the fourth floor. Hey.
On the front. We're coming right behind you.
We're
Welcome
coming.
here.
We're coming.
We're so glad to have you. And thank you for agreeing to do this. Just know, Tega, this is not the first time Tega is speaking on TIP. Tega was on the second TIP conference as well, where she also shared. Right? So this should be the second time Tega is coming here. But trust me, we plan to bring Tega even much more, going forward, because this has become such a huge aspect of our parenting. Thank you and welcome here, Tega. We're glad to have you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Can you hear me? Am I audible enough?
Loud and
Yeah.
clear, Tega.
I am so sorry. This network, I had to go for an outreach. I was speaking to a few young girls now. They just told me to come and talk to some young girls about, their choices, making right and wrong choices. And so that's why I'm here. I couldn't make it back. I just said, let me just enter a car and get this over with. So please pardon where I am right now.
Thank you.
Okay. I was telling Auntie Tima earlier today about when I saw the caption from bookworm to junkie. It was funny. I first burst into laughter, and then what came to me was really, it's funny how you can go from that to this. It's two extremes, but it's also a very thin line. It's a thin line because many times I keep telling parents that if you have not put enough in your children, you would not you have a problem with them when they're on their own. You must teach them to make independent decisions while they're at home. Now, a lot of factors cause these things. Like, I'm sure many people, I don't know how many people here know my story, so let me just start from the beginning. I was one of those very academically gifted children. Recently, my brother was telling me that if not for the things that had happened with me, that I should have been in NASA. I should have been in NASA. And I looked at him, I said, bros, do you know what NASA is? I mean, I have an older brother that if you wake him up from deep slumber and ask him a history question, he will answer you and go back to sleep. Meanwhile, they will tell me that my brain is that hot, or if not hotter. So I understand when, you go from, when you have an extremely gifted child, you take it for granted that this one is intelligent. Let me leave her, she'll be all right. It's not true. They didn't check my results for a long time because I was one of those very, very gifted children. My father was a teacher. He later became principal. So my dad was the book smart one. My mom was the street smart one. So I got the best of both worlds. I had the both sides. I was street smart and I was also book wise. Now, by the time I was in primary school, I came 591 out of 600. I was one of the best students in Lagos State. And it was so, I was that gifted that I actually was on scholarship into secondary school. It's recently my brother reminded me, say, you were on scholarship. I said, okay, I forgot. I actually got into scholarship into secondary school. My secondary school was not paid for by my parents at all. It was paid by scholarship. So I got into secondary school, and then because of all the fact that I felt they were constantly trying to instill discipline in the way that they knew best. They knew best to instill discipline by beating me, and I felt very unloved. Now I'm a last child of 8. I come from being a last child of 8 and so loved to being the child that my mother left for the UK. I felt rejected. Then my sister, I was living with her, and then she felt I was really over pampered, and she used to beat me for my head to be correct. So I really felt rejected and unloved by everybody, except my older sister. I had my brothers, of course. Then I had this other older sister that was living in the north. So by the time I was in secondary school, boarding house, what are you telling me? I was singing freedom, hallelujah. Hey? Now nobody is there to monitor me. Now the unfortunate part about that was they were not monitoring me in earnest because I was in school. My mom was in the UK, but they were also not monitoring my academics. So when I started to fail in school, nobody knew that I started failing. When I started to go out of school, they were not paying attention. So they did not even realize that my life was already going downhill. If they had found out early, it would have been easier for them to stop whatever it is and nip it in the bud and quickly help me out. Do you understand what I'm saying? But they couldn't because they were not paying attention to what was going on with me. Now, by the time I got in SS1, which is what, at age 13, 14, I started going out of school and hanging out with boys in neighboring university. I started hanging with them. My grades started dropping. I was going now from first. This is me that was coming first too. I was now going to 10th. I was going to 17th. I was going to 21st. And nobody knew. Now, I was telling Etima earlier that in secondary school, some of my friends were saying that some of us were FICO, some of us were art students. I was in E class. At the time, they used to put the most brilliant students in E class. And I was in E. But by the time I started going out of school, I knew I couldn't handle E anymore. So I found a way to maneuver and I moved to B class. Because I went to art, I felt like arts were easy. I was doing sciences, actually. That's how hot my brain was. I was doing sciences and I didn't have to be in class. I was one of those that if I'm in class and the teacher is teaching, when it's time to write exam, I will tell you word for word, verbatim, what it was that the teacher said. And I will pass my exam so very easily. But by the time I was leaving secondary school, guess what? I came out with 4 P's and 4 F's. I went from being one of the best students in Lagos State to a colossal failure in leaving secondary school. But by this time, I'd gone to the north to stay with my sister, who was staying with her husband in the north. And so I rewrote the exams, and then I met some other friends, and those friends were drug users. But they were not junkies yet. They were just experimenting. I am a social butterfly. I'm one of those that unless I don't want to be friends with you, you must be friends with me. I will make sure you're friends with me. So I used to love to dance. I used to love to play. I'm still so playful. Some people say that they're not sure if I'm 40. I should go and check my birth certificate properly, whether I'm in my 20s or not. But by the time I now got there, what they excluded me from was drug use. Everything else I was involved in. My sister had a boutique, so I used to have the trendy clothes. She had a gift shop, so people used to come there. So it appeared like, oh, this girl is happening. But the social circle in Kano was really small. So it was obvious that I wasn't the part of them. So they were friends with me, but the only thing they excluded me from was their drug use. And nobody was still paying attention to me because my sister was a young mom living her business. She didn't know what I had got into. She didn't know what I had entered in my life. And so I put myself under pressure. Now, there are different ways that people can put themselves under pressure. People can put you under pressure, but you can put yourself under pressure. I put myself under pressure. That was pure self-pressure. They put me on unspoken peer pressure. I could have ignored it, but I decided to be put under pressure. And that's how I started doing all sorts of nonsense. At some point, one of my friends, I used to watch Big Brother quite a bit. In fact, when they were sleeping, I'll be watching them sleep. I don't know what I thought I would miss. So I used to watch everything that they were doing. And then I lost sleep for a few days. And then one of my friends just said, let me give you something to help you. Let me give you something to help you sleep. And then she gave me codeine, and that was it.
Wow.
There are study drugs. There are study drugs. There are party drugs. I was one of those party animals. I was a club hopper. I wrote it on my Facebook page. I was a club hopper. Once the night starts, we start at maybe 7 p.m. We go from one club to the other until the 7 a.m. when the DJ will be telling you, I beg, carry your leg, come out. Auntie, I beg, let me raise your leg. I won't carry my wire. I was one of those. It got so bad. I wanted to be a lawyer. I keep saying this thing. I wanted to be a lawyer. I didn't even bother to read the law because my brain could not even hold that anymore. Because when you do drugs, the truth about this is that you begin to have memory lapses. You begin to have memory lapses. I couldn't retain anything in my head anymore. This is me that I say if I'm in a class, I will answer you word for word, verbatim, exactly what it is that you said. I couldn't hold anything in anymore. What was the point? When my mates are going to class, that is when I am curing a hangover. When my mates are going to class, that is when I'm looking for how to just, start getting high all over again. Because there was this old saying that when you get high, the best way to cure a hangover is to get high. So we'll now be looking for how to get high all over again. So this is how I went from wanting to be a lawyer, being a straight A student, to being someone that drops out of school. I had to drop out of school because I couldn't cope with it anymore. There was a point, I remember one day very well, where I had got so high that I had the cigarette in my hand, and then I slept off because, the thing just knocked me out. And then by the time I woke up, the rug had burnt. The curtain was so close to the place where I was lying down. That place could have caught fire with me inside of it. But God kept me. Anyway, after a while, my sister opened an agency. You see, my life of addiction spanned 13 years. So from age 17 that I started to do all of this till I turned 30. Active addiction till I turned 30. It's no joke. I'm not trying to paint it like something that people have done longer, but I had so much promise, but nobody was paying attention to me. Nobody was paying attention to me. I use this analogy in the Bible where I said Coach Solomon, King Solomon was settling the dispute with those two women.
It could pass as a
one of the things that happened was he looked at that. I'm telling you, because the Songs of Solomon and then Proverbs, it was actually a coach. Right? So he looked at those two women. Those two children had to have looked alike. Those two children had to have looked alike for the other one to think she can pass up her child for the other one. But what happened to the one that looked and said, this is not my child? She knew her child. I ask parents all the time, do you know your child? Because if my parents had known me, if my older siblings had known me well, they would have been able to see and say, this girl, her grades are dropping. But they took for granted the fact that I was an intelligent child. In fact, they stopped checking my results from primary school. So I could have easily been telling a lie that I came first again. But when I come home with my result, the first thing they will say to me, first again, but I'll say yes. They will say, Kai, this girl, you're too much. What will I buy for you? That was it. So they were not taking their time to actually go through. You must follow your child through, because the truth about this matter is that if you have not put enough in them when they are younger, they will not have anything to defend themselves when they are on their own. They say there are 3
Absolutely.
stages in a child's life, in a person's life. When your parents are in charge of you, when you're in charge of yourself, and when you're in charge of your parents. Now, what you put in the child when you're in charge of the child is what will determine how they would conduct themselves when they're in charge of themselves. And in turn, it will also help them conduct themselves when they're in charge of you in your older age. So parents need to
Yes.
understand that your child can easily go from being a straight A student. You might say, no, this one, I don't get problem with him. This one is very intelligent. I know someone that had a child like that and said, oh, my child is very intelligent. This one is not the problem. Later, they found that that child was the main problem. She was the biggest problem of all the 3 children. So the fact that your child is a straight A student does not necessarily mean that your child cannot be derailed. God has given the child already the gift of academic wisdom. But if you now don't help and guide the child properly and pay attention, help coach your child, nurture the child, help them navigate through life, the streets will speak to your child. And if your voice has not been loud enough in your child's ear, the voice of the streets will be louder than your voice, to drown your voice. And that is what they will take in. That is how my life went from being a straight A student to somebody that had to drop out of school.
Hello, Aunt Stega. You know, I've
You have
heard your
questions for me.
story
That's why I
many
stopped now,
times.
because you have questions.
I've heard your story many times, but every time you say there's something new that I need to. I mean, it's like I've not heard before, or there's an angle that I didn't see it from. Okay, let me talk about. Let me ask you rather about. I know you've been working with teenagers. What do you think? And then again, you've been working with people that have been on drugs. What do you think is that reason that makes a newbie investing, okay, start doing drugs? They came in there without doing drugs. They came in there as bookworms. They came in there as people that scored over 200 in JAM, cleared their A's and everything. That's how they came into school. But before final year, they have become junkies, or at least they're already on drugs. What do you think that reason is?
There are different gateways to drug use. There's of course, when you first of all feel like you are free. When you feel like you are free and you can do
The
anything that you
freedom
want to
thing.
do, experimentation, of course, it happens to everybody. You all just want to experiment. Let's just see, nobody to tell me what to do now. I'm in charge of myself. That happens. But there's also trauma. And then one thing that is very huge in university is study drugs. And what happens to them when they're taking study drugs is because they've gone they've they are they are um they are back in their schoolwork. So they now try to catch up quickly. So they want to
Meet
quickly
up.
take something that will help them stay awake, something that will help them to read, assimilate better. I know a boy that plays amazing instruments in church. If this boy drums for you in church, I'm telling you, you just be shouting, anointing is flowing in the drumming. The day this boy came to meet me and said, "Ma, I need help. I am on drugs." I said, "I don't understand." He said, "I cannot play unless I'm high." I said, "So all that thing we're shouting, anointing, anointing, is high that causing it. It's not anointing.
This is not funny.
There are drugs that
Jesus.
are stimulants. It's not funny. There are drugs that are stimulants. They stimulate you and give you energy. There are things like that. Now, that is study drugs are stimulants. They keep you awake. They keep you alert. So in your mind, you are actually trying to read. You are trying to study. The unfortunate part about that is that you build tolerance, and after a while, you have to take more drugs, and then you start to do damage to yourself in the long term. Short term, it may be like, oh, all is well, but in the long term, there is a problem. So many times it's study drugs, many times it's peer pressure, many times it's just experimentation and freedom. Those 3 factors, definitely.
So what can we say to them? Okay, let there be two parts of this question. What can we say to the parents? Could it be that the parents are also putting the children on undue pressure? Could it be that the children themselves are ignorant of the effect of this substance they are taking?
One, children are ignorant of the substance they are taking. Then two, parents need to balance this thing properly. Let me tell you what's going on with parents. I was just talking to a girl now, and she said something to me that, what if you want to do a course and then your mom wants you to do another course? Parents need to stop. You need to stop. You need to stop forcing your dreams that you could not live on your children. You need to stop projecting your own unfulfilled dreams on your children. You need to stop. That's the truth. You need to stop. Allow your children live their dreams. Their dreams are valid. Allow them, unless it is something that is totally obscure. Like a child that will look at you and tell you to your face that, no, I want to be a stripper. Then you know that, no, my dear, you cannot be a stripper, yeah? We cannot help you. But if your child has legal, valid dreams, allow your child. Allow them make their mistakes. Negotiate with them. Let them know this is what it is. You can't be a stripper. You can't be a stripper. Because if you become a stripper, this is the consequences. This is this, this is that. You must lay it down to them. Let them know what it is. Let them know what it is. And stop forcing your own unfulfilled dreams on children. It causes a lot of problem. Because the children now have issues. They are now put under pressure. Some look at Fowles, for instance. Fowles wanted to be a musician. He wanted to be an artist. But his father wanted him to be a lawyer. Fowles decided, Fowles decided, and he did his own in a positive manner. He went through, he got the law, gave his certificate, and decided to be a musician. But there are children that don't have this, that don't understand this kind of pressure. Instead, when this happens, all they do is get into school, they slip into a depression, and before you know it, they start doing drugs because they are trying to meet up with the standards that their parents have placed on them. Don't place undue pressure on children. Don't. Please don't. It might be easier said than done because we all want the best for our children. I want my child to be like this. I want my child to do this. It might be easier said than done, but we can always meet in a middle ground. We can negotiate this matter, meet in a middle ground. Why don't we do like this? If you do like this, like that's what happened with Fowles. His father told him, okay, you can be an artist. Get the certificate for me. If anything happens to Fowles, Fowles can end up practicing. Do you know that?
Yeah.
So this is why we tell them, why don't we find a balance to these matters? If we can find a balance, we'll all be all right. So I think that parents should find negotiating skills, balance with your children, understand where they're coming from. Don't force it on them. Please don't force it on them. Don't force it on them. You might say later that, later, didn't you understand? Did I not help you now? At that time, the child is...
Oh, wow.
I think we lost Tega for a bit. I'm sure she's going to get back. Yeah.
But when this issue of insisting, stamping our foot, my child must, and some of the teenagers say, Auntie, I don't have the brain for. They say,
Fatima
Auntie,
is an ego thing. So we have a lot of
I don't
parents
have
who
the
are
brain.
very egocentric, where we want to live our lives, with the lives of our children, which is also one of the reasons we mount so much pressure on our children. Tega is back here. Welcome back here, Tega.
Yeah. Thank you. So like I said, let's meet on the middle ground. Negotiate with your children. My sister does something amazing. My sister here, the one that lives in Abuja, she does something amazing. When you write an exam and maybe you come fourth or fifth, she'll ask you, was this your best? You say yes. You say, okay. If you say that was your best, then it's fine. What I realized that it does with her daughters is that every time she asks them, is this their best? They do better the next time because they realize that it wasn't their best. The first time I heard her say that thing, I was wondering, you need to slap them into coming first. What's this? But the first time I heard that, the next time she did better in class because she actually came to a realization that, okay, this wasn't my best. This wasn't my best. And she put in her best. Yes.
Okay, and Tiger, let me ask. This is this question is going to be for the benefit of the teenagers. Do you think that a teenager, by reason of training, okay, by reason of coaching, mentoring, and proper teaching, a teenager can be aware of when the pressure to start using drugs is around? Do you think that they can watch out for the
Yes,
signs of people around them that do drugs? I was telling Wendy yesterday, I hate to see teenagers gullible. I hate to see them ignorant. This kind of helpless. I didn't know. I was confused. They gave me, and you took. They just told me because I heard you say that someone gave you codeine. You know, they just gave you. Didn't you? Shouldn't they know that? Look, there are drug hawkers around. There are people that are going to offer you things. Is there something you can say to parents so that they can also relate this message to their teenagers, so that when we are talking to the teenagers, they don't feel like, oh, you guys are coming to spoil, oh, you're coming to be the one to teach them how to identify these things. Can you just share with us a few things that parents need to know so that they can teach and train their children as they go to school?
first of all, when you apart from the fact that people can offer you stuff. Like one day I was at a party and I one it was my birthday this year, and then I was dancing on the place. They had popped champagne for me with fireworks on the scene in one of these bars in Abuja. And then I saw my boyfriend with talking to one girl that I had been suspecting him with. So when I saw them talking, the way they were talking, I knew that there was something between them. So I went to the bathroom, I was crying. And then when I was crying there, one girl came and said, I just saw you on the table. You were the one. Is it not your birthday they're celebrating? I said, yes, it is. She said, so why are you here crying? You should be happy. I just saw you dancing. I'm like, I saw my boyfriend with some girl. And she looks at me and says, wow, that must be really hard. I said, really hard. She looked at me and says, let me give you something so you feel better. And I took it. And it wasn't codeine. This was another pill. Now, this is the thing. People will offer you stuff. At that time, I did not have the presence of mind because I had not heard anybody talk about drug use and people talking to me and saying, if someone should tell you to take this, don't take it. What you don't know, don't take. What you don't know, don't. That's very important. You need to teach your children. Now, recently, somebody I'm working with they had a party. So I told her, I said, you are just out of rehab. You're not ready to party. She said, she can't help it. The person that invited her really begged her. It's a very good friend. I said, go. But when you get there, if worst comes to the worst, remember that I am your love number. She said, fantastic. I'll call you. So because of this girl, I had to make sure that my phones were fully charged because I don't know. This had to be the Holy Spirit. I knew that something would happen. So when I saw her call, I jumped. I didn't even allow it ring completely. I'm like, what's going on? She said, you will not believe who I saw here. I said, who? She told me the person. Now, this person is someone that we know that when you see him in a party, there's a problem. There's a problem, big problem. So as soon as she called, I said, as I'm talking to you, what have you taken? She said, as we entered, they gave us drinks. They arranged the drinks on the table in those red cups. I said, I have warned you about these red cups. I have warned you. I have spoken to you. When you enter a party, if you don't know, if you were not the one that opened your drink, don't drink it. If you were not don't leave your drink unattended to. You were not the one that opened it, leave it. You were not the one that just leave any drink that you don't trust the people, leave it. She said, oh, she drank something. I said, right now, as I'm speaking to you, enter your car and drive. She said, I'm shaking. I can't even drive. I said, call Uber. She said, I can't. I said, oh, yeah, get out of the house and start walking because she was that panicked. Now, she left there. We got to pick her up. She left. Later, she went back for her car. Now, guess what happened? We heard the story later that they had gone there. And then that guy that she saw was paid by some men to organize a party. They organized a party for 30 people, 15 girls and about 12 boys or something like that. Do you know that they raped 10 boys and all the girls in that party?
What?
because they had slipped into their drinks rohypnol. They had put drugs in the drink. So everybody got there, and the drink was so sweet. Then they gave them gutter water. Gutter water is a combination of black currant, marijuana, heroin, cocaine, what else now? Codeine. It is so sweet. So you will not even realize what's going on. You will just be drinking. In your mind, you are drinking Chapman. They put it inside the dispenser bottle. So apart from the one they took on the table, they were taking from dispenser. They were just thinking they were drinking Chapman. It was not Chapman. It was gutter juice. That is why they were all knocked out and all of them were raped, including the boys. So when you are sending your children to school, remind them, don't leave your drinks unattended. You can't be there when they are going for party. They will invite them for party. They will even send a car to come and carry them. Oh, then let's carry all the girls for a party. Teach them to always carry vex money. Yes. Have that money in your back pocket. If push comes to shove, get out of there. Teach them escape routes. Because you will not always be there. Don't even kid yourself and say, no, my child, don't go to party. You will know you are a child of God. Remember the son of whom you are wasting your time. They will party. That's the truth. They will party. So teach them escape routes. Teach them not to drink drinks that they did not open. Teach them that when you have drank the drink you opened yourself and you drop it, it doesn't matter who it is. Don't trust the next person that they did not slip something into your drink. Another case I'm dealing with now, the girl was drugged by her best friend. Her best friend, their mothers are friends. So she trusted this individual. But the girl went and drugged her drink because the guy paid her money, said he wanted to sleep with her friend. And the friend was proven very, very hard to get. So they drugged her drink and then she was raped. Teach them not to leave their drinks. If you leave your drink unattended to, don't go back to it. No matter what they tell you, leave it. If you like the drink so much, carry it with you as you are going. And all those drinks they put in dispenser, any drink that they will say, oh, just pick a red cup as you're going in. Don't drink those. Don't go to a boy's house with only one girl, because that girl might be the one the boy used. Don't go to anybody, because these days, their ways have become so funny. Young children as young as 15 are doing devious things that will break your heart. So don't follow them. If you are going to a party, make sure you go with 2 or 3 people and make sure they're always with you. Make sure, teach them escape routes, because you cannot tell them not to party. You cannot tell them not to hang out. You cannot tell them all of those things. You have missed it when you didn't tell them when they were younger. Now that they are going, put them in the hands of God, but teach them coping skills. Is important.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much,
This was
Tega.
really loaded.
You know, when we say, when a lot of parents who are listening to you now hear what you're saying, one of the things that they are going to say is, God forbid, it's not my child. Oh, it's not going to happen to me. I reject it in Jesus' name. I have prayed. They will say it like other people are not praying. And, you know, that's why many of the times, you know, when people say something, they say, oh, you're trying to misinterpret the Bible. You're trying to, that's not, the Bible said they will shelter our children will be blessed of the Lord, they will be sheltered. I am not saying that. I love that you're sharing this. Well, nobody has said that our children will not be protected by God. But the truth remains that there are responsibilities that we have as parents. And I don't think we're doing them, which is one of the reasons why I keep shouting this spare the rod gang and people want to get angry. Because we are just all concentrated on how we're going to beat children for doing something wrong, and we're not teaching them anything, which is one of my biggest challenges. We're not teaching them what can happen to them. We're not putting in front of them how life runs. We're just interested in having obedient children who just comes home, cooks food, tells us everything. How about when they get out of our home, which of course is not the world? What now happens out there? But you know, some interesting question that I want to ask Tega is, you know, so these things are there. Are there some kind of system, things that parents should look out for to teach. Now, I'm more interested in what parents should teach because for me, it's all lies in parenting. That's the way I see it. Another person might see it from another angle, but that is where I sit. I'm a parent coach. That's what I do. So all I am doing is to look at where the loopholes in parenting come from. Are there statistics to back up, parents who are involved and parents who are not involved, children who are doing drugs and children who are not doing drugs? Are there studies? What is there? Can you share with us? What exactly is it that parents can do better?
Now, this one of the statistics that I saw that that made me very dizzy was that by 2025, 1 in 5 families will have a drug addict.
By
1 in 5 families in
2025.
Nigeria will have. That's 5 years from today. Yes, we'll
Okay.
have a drug addict in the house. That one confused me completely because I kept thinking, okay, so now in this my estate, there are maybe 30 houses. So are you saying out of these 30 houses now, there'll be six, how many? 1 in 5. That means there'll be 6 houses with drug addicts in them. That's crazy. Now, for parents, in what I think that they can do is you begin to understand how your child is doing. If you see that your child is easily influenced, somebody was telling me recently her 2-year-old is very strong-willed. I said, I think you need to actually direct it in a positive manner. Don't be upset with her for being too strong-willed. Because if you allow her feel as if it's a problem for her to be strong-willed, she would now conform to everything. Conformity is the problem that many teenagers have.
Yeah.
We need to teach our children to actually become independent in their thinking. You must not follow everything. And you would see the signs from now. When you see that your child just likes to follow everything that is happening, you need to understand that you need to pay much closer attention. You need to start telling them, no, you can be unique in your own way. When you begin to see the kind of, I went to a school, I was talking to them, pastors' children. I say, what do you want to be when you are older? The people that wanted to be Wizkid were more than the people that wanted to be Fela Durotoye. In fact, they didn't know who Fela Durotoye was. They all wanted to be Davido. They all wanted to be Tiwa Savage. I said, I was almost heartbroken, but I said, okay, it's not my fault. Let me not do this. It's the parents that need to first of all parent themselves. If you, the parent, has not understood values over
Okay, Tim, I think Tega is having some issues. Please go on.
Yeah, okay. This issue of saying that children should understand how to speak up, when to speak up, and what to say while they are speaking up. Yesterday we heard it, and then today Tega is re-emphasizing it again. Children should have a mind of their own. There's too much of celebrity modeling. Everybody wants to be like their favorite celeb. Everybody wants to be like the other day I heard a 9-year-old say to her mom, I'm not interested in taking over you and dad's company. I just want to go to Big Brother and just win the money. She's just 9. She went as far as saying, I'm not interested in working in your company. They are growing a company. I'm not interested. I will not be interested. Yeah, you can say that she's still a bit too young to understand what she's truly saying. But I was worried. I was worried that, and she's seemingly a strong-willed child, if I might say. I know her personally, and I know that she can be set in her ways. So why would she even admire? Why would she want to? Why would she desire to not work, to not work hard, as it were, and just sit and wait till she goes to Big Brother and win all the money? And so I think this is a call for us parents to go back to the drawing board, which for me is value. The value system is that drawing board. I think when we say go back to the drawing board, it's the value system. That's where it begins. Tega, am I right?
Absolutely. One of my latest mantra now is popularity, values over popularity. Even the parents have decided that popularity is more important to them. If not,
Exactly.
why else? Why else
Exactly.
would you be letting your child feel as if likes on Instagram because you are half naked is more important than what you should be projecting as a parent? It's just a very scary, because I ask them, when you ask them, do you know Debola Williams? They are clueless. You know who Fela Dorotoye is? They don't know. You know who Steve Harris is? They are confused. They don't know anybody. But if you ask them who Davido is, Naira Marley is more influential than many people that will give our children brain.
I agree.
It's so painful that there's even some people, they say they are Jesus Malians. Jesus Malians. That's the one that I think hurts me the most. Jesus Malians, what does that even mean? So we have decided that these things are more important.
I really think that, the problem, like I said, the problem is in parent. Unfortunately, the people who are raising these people have not even finished raising themselves. For you to raise the next person, how many parents know Fela? How many parents know these people you're calling Tega? Now that's the challenge. That's the challenge. But it's the same parents that are going to, dance, do all that, right. And then that becomes the most important thing. So the problem is, what is even important to that parent? What are the value system that they are seeing? You don't go to your child's school for anything, but you go for birthday, you take pictures and you put it on Instagram for likes. That's what we're talking about. So we're building hype over the things that are factual. It's about us, the things that we're doing.
Values
so
over popularity.
Yes, values over popularity. So most parents, if exactly, someone said most parents live in denial, especially the religious one. I so agree with you. And then all we sit back is when the child does something wrong. I saw a video where a girl shared her nude pictures on Instagram, and the parent was whooping the child with a cane. I had a good laugh. I had a very good laugh. I happened to go to the handle of this same parent. What I saw was unforgivable. Yet you're flogging a child. We're just hypocritical about some of the things that we project, about being parents. So one of the things that I really truly, agree. Yes, it's okay for us to say the teenagers do not know these people, but what are we parents? How do they know? How will they know them? How will the children know them? Is it not what we're teaching? Basically, I think Tega is frozen. Tega, are you still there? Are you still there, Tega? Okay, I think Tega is a bit frozen. Okay, you're here. Okay, so it's about what we're teaching. Yes, we're talking about. You're talking about.
Yes, I'm here.
All right. So we're talking about parents who are the values around the home. Ask these same children, they know the person that won Big Brother Niger. They know the person that won that is the most celebrated artist. They know, but they don't know these people. Why? That's what is important in this circle. That's the most important thing. So what are parents doing? Then I was listening to you one of those days on your broadcast, and you were saying that we are more interested in carrying Gucci bag. Tell a parent to come and read a book on parenting or take a course. They will tell you, I beg, but they will buy a Gucci bag and wear. Then when the chips are down, they come and tell you to just please help me. Just help me, please. Coach, please, I beg, just help me. This thing, in fact,
my own is even worse. They will just tell you, I beg, just take this child, do anything you want to do with him. I will pay you. Do anything you want to do with him. So I'm looking and thinking, You cannot give your role, you cannot shirk your responsibility and give it to somebody else to do for you. You are first of all the coach, and it's you that God will ask of this child. God is not going to ask me for your child. I am just a laborer that God has decided to send, but He will ask you. He will ask.
Okay, and Tiger, let me just ask this last question. This issue of you're feeling down, let me give you something to make you feel better. This issue of, oh, you didn't do well in school, let me give you, what is this something? How can these children just avoid this something? Because I've heard it too many times, and it seems like this something is a solution to too many things. How can there be something that is able to solve every problem that a child has in university? Somebody maybe talks down on you, you're feeling bad, let me give you something to feel better. Somebody was maybe talked down on in class by a lecturer, let me give you something to make you feel better. There's always something. You saw your boyfriend with somebody, let me give you something to make you feel better. This something is a problem. How are they going to avoid this something, please?
Let me
Now,
this
this is for
something
the
is not the
teenager
problem.
now.
When you are
Yes.
confident in yourself and somebody says,
Yes.
let me give you something, you will not take it now. I had a very big issue with rejection. That's why I always start with saying that I felt rejected by my mom. I felt unloved by my sister. I felt unloved. Then this thing stems from adverse child experiences. Now, look at what happened to me when I saw that boyfriend with another girl. The first thing that came to my head is, oh, the one that I love doesn't love me too.
Rejected again.
So it played out again. And then that girl came and gave me something. And then I felt loved and accepted by her.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
So parents need to make their children confident in their love for them, so that nobody else is going to come and deceive you that they love you and give you something. Earn their trust from now, so that they can tell you all the things that they have to go through. If you flip every time they come and give you an experience, they won't come back to you. So I always felt rejected and unloved. So when somebody comes and tells me, oh, come and take this thing, I felt this is somebody that wants me to be happy. And then that's what it was. So parents need to actually do that for their children. Help them. Teach them that they are loved regardless. Loved regardless. Look at the love of God. God will love you. You will, when you run. Meanwhile, He's telling you to come to me. He's telling you to come to me. Parents need to teach their children that regardless, I'm your mother, I'm your father, I love you. Come to me with whatever problems it is. You're their coach now. You're their coach now. You're meant to help them navigate through life, nurture them through life, not make decisions for them.
You are supposed to help them navigate through life, not make decisions for them. Thank you for that last word, Tega. In fact, it caps everything that we are talking about. You know, we're supposed to help them through life. But one of the things that I see today are parents trying to, navigate life for their children. Parents trying to do everything for their children. Parents trying to, ego, even, trying to just put out where they're telling you there's a better way to do this thing. You're fighting and saying, no, all these people, what are they saying? I said this yesterday. The devils we are battling with, Etima, I think we were also having this conversation recently. The devils our children are battling with is not the same. So while you're there saying, hey, after they beat you, didn't you die? Or did you die? Are you not here? It's not the same. It is not the same. It's not the same. There's a huge difference. So when we keep saying, and after they did it to us, nothing happened. These children, you need to see what 12-year-olds are planning. And you're wondering what is really happening. What is really happening? I don't even think that we've been able to get into the real series in drugs. And I'm hoping that Tega still comes up so that we'll also be able to ask, one or two questions. And please, if you have questions in the comment section, please write in the comment section. Tega will be able to take your questions while we wait. Thank you, Etima. Yes.
Okay, so I still feel that, yes, there are lapses from the parents, from that angle. I still feel, Wendy, that there is something that the teenager himself or herself can do. That is the truth.
Absolutely.
There is
Absolutely.
something. Yes.
But
So,
Etima,
your mom.
it's only when you are giving the landing, only when you've been taught what to do. Is it not what you know when you know what to do? That's what we're saying
Exactly.
about this class that you're doing for the teenagers. If nobody teaches you what to do when you get into university, how do you know?
How do you know what to do, what not to do?
You can't pour from an empty place. How do you know what to do and what not to do? Today we had a conversation. We had a conversation about a boy who entered court because he was being intimidated because he was rich. And I asked a question: did this boy who was rich know that this kind of thing can happen to him in the higher institution? No.
Exactly.
So our children don't even know what to expect. We are assuming so much.
Exactly.
We just assume that all is well. How many of us here told our real stories of what happened in higher institution to our parents? How many of us? How many
To
of
our
us?
children. Yeah,
To
to
our
our parents. Exactly.
parents.
We're hiding.
Yes, we'll come out and say, yes, oh, we turned out okay. Oh, yes, we turned out all right. How? There were a lot of things that went wrong that were never spoken about. These are the things that we're calling attention to today. So if you have a teenager who is going to go into the university, maybe from SS2 to SS3, Etima has a class for these children. Let them go and attend. I said yesterday that you cannot be everything to your children. Your children don't even know what to expect. Some children are trained in such a way that they come out from their Ajebota mommy's room, their father's house, where everything looks like everything is perfect, and then they stumble into the higher institution. How do you want them to cope? Why won't they take something when they give them something, Etima? Why won't they?
How would they take something? This something.
Because they don't even know what something is.
Mm-hmm.
What did you tell them? Did you tell them to expect that people will offer them things? Did you tell them that people are going to give them things? No, you didn't. Did you even tell them that, see, somebody is going to come to you and tell you that this could happen? They don't have an inkling. And when they get into trouble, we want to blame them. No, I do not blame the teenagers.
You should have
Trust
known.
me.
You should have known. You should have
Exactly.
known.
Many of the times, the children do not know what to expect. There's so much unpredictability everywhere. I was looking at the statistics that Tega shared. He said by 2025, 5 years from now, 1 in 5 of every family in Nigeria will have a drug addict. I don't know if that's worried anybody here. That gave me a headache. She said it and I went blank. 1 in 5? Do we know what that is? That means the menace we're dealing with is crazy. It's crazy. Yet we're sitting back and the only thing we want to learn in parenting is how to beat children and how to make them to just conform. Conformity, Tega said something. She said conformity is a problem.
It's a problem.
Letting your children obey you all the time can actually be a disadvantage. Are you teaching your children the skills in your home to be able to stand up even to you? Can they stand up to you? Can they even say no to the things that you're saying? Not in a disrespectful manner, trust me.
Yeah.
But in a way that they will be able to actually lay their facts on the table and say, no, hello, dear parents, you're not infallible. You're not infallible. You're not the Alpha and the Omega. So it simply means that you don't know everything. So it simply means that you're going to fail. So it simply means that there will be things that you don't know how to do. Deal with it. I think that's a part we need to take home today. Deal with the fact that you don't know everything. Deal with the fact that you can't be correct all the time. Deal with the fact that you are not infallible. Deal with it. It's an ego thing. It's not when you think in your skin that I can be everything. That's where the problem is. That's why your children struggle. Let your children be able to assess people, mentors, whom they can speak with. There was something else Etima Tega said. Tega also mentioned that she was rejected in the home. All her sister wanted to do was to beat her to conform. I've been talking about this beating thing. They say that, no, I'm trying to tell them not to obey the word of God. I don't get it. So by the time things were happening to this girl, nobody knew. They were just all interested in making sure that she conforms, she's the best, and she comes out there. So it's something.
This issue of I noticed something with the teenagers that do drugs. There's this issue of love, not feeling loved, not feeling connected, not feeling that bond. They just feel a disconnect. Yeah, so they feel like the drugs are taking that place. Oh, let me just take something that just makes me feel good and makes me feel high.
Okay,
so connection is high.
That guy is
Connection with our children is actually a high thing. It makes them high.
Connect to correct is your number one pointer. Connection before everything. Connection before everything. If you connect enough, then you won't have need for you to be jumping around, beating children up and down, and trying to prove that you are one lion of the tribe of the Judah. You are not now. You are not. Stop acting God. You are not. You are not God. You are only a caretaker giving a child to raise. That's who you are. You don't own the child. You don't own the child. So it is all this is my child. Is it not my child? Who are you? I gave birth to you. That is it's our biggest. Tega is back here. And I think Tega is trying to move.
I'm on the road. I'm driving.
I know. So Tega, can you share with us what will be the advice that you will want to give parents today on this issue?
Okay, parents should just can you hear me? Am I audible enough?
Oh, loud and clear.
Okay, I think that parents, you need to always anticipate that something can happen, and like I said, teach them skills to be able to say no. What I do with children when I'm talking to them, teenagers, I ask them a simple question. I say, what do you want to be when you're older? They tell me. I tell them, so now if somebody comes and tells you not to be that, what is the person saying to you? The person is trying to take your dreams from you. You need to teach your children to hold on to their dreams, because even as adults, we have things that come and try to distract us from our rails, distract us from our own lives.
Yeah.
But we must find ways of teaching them to stay focused. Look at like all those study drugs that children use. If a child goes to class every day, he will not need and every day you read a chapter of your whatever you have to read for your exams. You will not need to now do a crash program and start reading everything. Then you'll be looking for something to keep you awake. Then you now start looking for study drugs. Avoid study drugs because it may help you on the short term, but it will mess you up on the long run. So we must teach them that, look, a little of what you do every day is what makes the whole picture. So don't let anybody tell you that, no, come and take anything. It will make you read better. We need to teach them that. Teach them also that, in fact, when they're at home, first of all, when they're home with their friends, when their friends start saying you must go to this party, you must teach your child, watch them. If your child say, I must go for this party, I must go for this party, teach them to say, no, delay gratification. You mustn't go for this party. I'm not punishing you, but you need to also know that it's not every time that you need to go for parties. And then once in a while, when they make mistakes, allow them suffer the consequence of the decision that they made. Because if you don't allow them suffer the consequence of that decision forever and ever, they will say it is what you said I should do.
Tega, I want to cut you. I want to cut you a bit there. You know, when I was writing the discipline that works, I shared something in a part, and someone was asking me. I said that when you beat children, many of the times you do not allow them to go through the consequences of their action, because you've beaten them and you have taken away the consequence, because you now feel guilty.
That's the consequence already. Yes,
exactly. You know, you now feel guilty. Instead of allowing your child go through the process, you say, "Oh, I've already beaten you for not mopping the toilet, so I'll go and mop the toilet for you. So it's okay. I'll now go and do it for you." And what have you ended up doing for the child? Thank you so much, Tega, for bringing that part.
So we must allow them they must bear the consequence of every action. It's very important, because if they don't, you see, like how they discipline dogs. When a dog pees in a place, you don't beat the dog for just peeing, because the dog won't understand. You have to take the nose of the dog, put it in the pee, beat him, take him back to where he's supposed to pee, beat him, bring it back there. By the time you do that a few times, the dog knows that this place that he peed was a wrong choice. You have taught the dog how not to pee in that place. So for your children, you cannot just wake up and just tell them, "I'm disappointed in you." No, I'm sorry. I'm disappointed in what you have done. Because you know better. You can be better. There is a way to actually discipline you in a way that when they are disciplining you, the dog will even pain you more than if they beat you. Because you look at it, tell them that I know you are better than this. I know you are more intelligent than this. How do you end up making this decision? That child will feel so bad and make sure they make better decisions to please you.
Next time.
So we need to start teaching our children how to think and making them understand that not everything is violence. Because when you start to overdo those things, the children will not start thinking, "Is it not beat? I chest them."
They go beat me now. I go chest them.
Appeal to their minds.
Yes.
We need to start appealing to our children's minds. Appeal to their minds. Appeal to their minds. Let them think. Allow them think. When you think for your children, you're doing them more harm than good. Stop thinking for them. Allow them think. When they do make a decision, okay, go with it. But if you ask me, I'll say you should do like this. But if this is what you want to do, it's all right. You can go ahead. I trust your judgment. Do you know that more often times than not, your child will come to you and say, "Mommy, actually, what did you want me to do?" When you tell them, "I trust your judgment," listen, I don't have children yet, but I can safely say that these are the things that I know that will have worked for me. I tell teachers and teen teachers now, I said, "Can you be the adults that your teenage you would have wanted?"
Exactly.
Be the adults that your teenage you would have wanted. So that's the kind of auntie that I am. I am trying to be to all teenagers around me. The kind of auntie that I would have loved when I was a teenager. So you need to appeal to their minds. Speak to them as if they know what they are doing, because the truth is many of them know what they are doing. Imagine a 3-year-old. Was he 3? He was just 2. He was trying to take a bottle of drink. His father kept telling him, "Stop it, don't take it. Don't take it." So later the father and mother started talking. Do you know this boy went behind the curtain? He thought they were not seeing him. He's 2 years old. He went behind the curtain. Then he brought out his hand and was trying to take the bottle of Coke from there. The father now told the mother, "See your pikin, see your pikin." He was 2 years old. As a 2-year-old, he was trying to already hide and manipulate his way, thinking they were not seeing him. How much more an adult?
Yeah.
Because as far as I'm concerned, teenagers have become adults because men are thinking as adults. Their hormones are raging. So they will make a lot of mistakes. That is why you are there to guide them. But don't make the decisions for them. If you make the decisions for them, you are not helping them task their minds. And when you do that, you're creating a dependent adult that will stay at home even when he's 40. And then will not start wondering, "Where did I go wrong? It's my village people." It's not your village people. You are the one that didn't help.
You know, Tega, some time ago I shared that why should anybody have a 27-year-old in their home? You know, a lot of people said, "No, why will you say that? No, in the economy today, 27-year-old don't have choices." I'm like, wow, what are we saying? So these are some of the thoughts that we are. Yes, it happened right on the community. People were like, "How can you say 27-year-old should not leave their parents? It can be that they have issues. It can be that they don't have a job." I'm like, what is that? So we're constantly
Let them go and learn a skill.
we're constantly, like I always say, we're constantly raising people who can't survive the world. And because we're also raising people who can't think with their head, because discipline invokes the thinking brain, while punishment invokes the emotional brain. So we are hanging on emotions to raise children. It's not sustainable. Your emotions are not sustainable. Yesterday, the guy who shared on, cultism, how he went from being a cult member to he said that the only thing he could remember was his mother telling him, I'm the only one raising you. I'm the only one. It was not enough to hold him back.
Yeah.
Those were simple emotions, and they do you no good. The child was not given the ability to be dependent and the ability to think. So that way, all he could see was my mom, all he could see was my mom is just a woman. She just wants me to be okay. And then, of course,
He's just emotional about everything.
He's just emotional about it. So when the voice of the person who was telling him to come and join the court came, he said the voice of that person was louder.
And it was a practical
your
voice.
child hear? Your child will not see your voice.
It was a practical voice, and his mother's voice was an emotional voice. That was logical. Yes.
Logical voice. And that voice gave him reasons. That voice made him to think. That voice offered him rewards for taking the choice.
Yes.
The mother didn't teach him to think about delayed gratification, to think about rewards in his thinking process.
Yes.
So all the mother said to him was, please go to school, don't disgrace me. That is parenting on emotions. It doesn't take you so far.
That's emotion. It's emotions.
That's emotion. That's emotion. You can't hang on emotion for so long. So there's a lot of lessons for us to take away from this session.
You can only emotions when they're young. By the time they get out of the house, they will not even hear you. Because most boys, most people that I work with doing drugs, they will tell you, the way my mom started crying, I really got upset, but I beg. Like, okay.
Interesting. Etima, so we're here, we're going to begin to round, because we have another session at 4, right here on the back to school. Yes. So we need to begin to round up.
Yeah. So I just want to say to every parent here, we can teach these things. Oh yeah, I know you feel like it's late, but the next best time to do it is right now. There are certain things, key things that must be in every training, every teaching for teenagers, especially for the university newbies. At the Responsible Teens Academy, that's what we're set to do this evening and tomorrow. I'm on the team, I'm leading the team. Auntie Wendy, as we call her, the academy. When she's at the academy, she's not Coach Wendy, she's Auntie Wendy. Auntie Wendy will also be at the master class to teach these children, last minute tips on what they can do as they prepare for university. So you need to reach out to me to register your teenagers. If they're in SS2, SS3, they're already on their way, trust me. In a few months, they'll be on their way to college. They'll be on their way to freedom. That's the truth. University is freedom for them. We've heard the 3 speakers say it. They got to college and boom, freedom to do what they like, when they want to do it, and however they want to do it. So give your teenagers this last chance to hear from us what they need to do as they journey to freedom. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for being here. We're looking forward to having your teenagers at the academy with us this weekend. Thank you, Wendy, for this. Thank
you so much, Etima, for bringing the Responsible Teens Academy team to us at TIP. And we really do appreciate. And I want to say 2 things that resonate with all the people who shared between yesterday, who are now currently adult. They couldn't finish school. Why? Decisions that were made because they just didn't know. The other person just had a parent who parented on emotions. Like Etima put it, go to school and don't disgrace me is kind of outdated. It no longer works, right? You need to be able to put in something into your child that is a little more than just go and disgrace me. Your child will not hear don't go and disgrace me when they are there. There will be a voice that might be stronger than don't go and disgrace me. So when a voice speaks in logic, it sounds stronger than the voice that speaks in emotion. Are you parenting just with your emotions? Are you parenting on the basis of knowledge? Are you teaching your child exactly what you're doing? Punishing your child for doing things that they are doing and all that is your emotions playing out. Sitting down to think through what your child has done and how you can help them move from where they are to where they are going is you thinking through it. That is the real parenting. So when you parent on emotions, when the chips are down, your child might not be able to actually think, logically. What voice will your child hear when they are out there? Will they hear the voice of you just yelling and you hitting them? Or will they hear voice of reason? How you have used knowledge to be able to bring a lot of things to bear for them. Join Etima Ume at the Responsible Teens Academy. If you have a teenager who is in SS2 and older, please reach out to her. If you cannot reach out to her, you can reach out to me to register your teens to be at that masterclass this weekend. But before you go, remember that we are convening back here at 4 p.m. I'm enjoying this back to school series. There are a lot of things that we need to learn about, a lot of issues in parenting. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Tega. I can see you. Thank you so much, Tega. Tega had to run to our community on Facebook to send the chat. She can't seem to connect again. Thank you so much, Tega, for bringing out your time to come and share with us. And I know and I think that we're going to bring Tega back again on TIP to actually create more awareness on these things. Because when I heard that by 2025, 1 in 5 of every family in Nigeria will have a junkie in their house, that is, for me, that is a takeaway. And there's something that Tega said that you must take away from this session: values over popularity. Stop seeking popularity. Teach your children values. In TIP, we started creating guides. We went as far as creating family value guides. Are your family values central in the life of your teenager? So they don't even know what is even important to you. See you again in the next few minutes at exactly 4 p.m. Then we're going to have Abibo. Abibo had a taste of drug at age 9. You don't here. Thank you so much again for being here, and we'll see you again at 4 p.m. Nigerian time, in case you are outside of Nigeria watching us. Thank you so much and do have an amazing evening.